Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Welcome to the Silicon Valley Tech Podcast, the weekly tech podcast where we bring entrepreneurs, we bring technologists, enthusiasts, as well as anybody who has done something in any of the aspects of technology or maybe outside of technology sphere as well. The idea behind this podcast is to bring those issues, those topics, those the good things and the bad things that they've gone through, so that as an individual, as an entrepreneur or a budding entrepreneur, you learn from their learnings and become a better entrepreneur or a leader. Tonight or today, I have yet another entrepreneur who has been running a lot of businesses as well as technology related schools, if I could call it, or some kind of programs. She is someone who has been doing this for a very long time, a technologist herself, uh, someone who has made a mission of teaching robotics as well as coding to people around the world, right from Israel to Bangladesh to Australia to US to Canada and to India. She has students across the world who are learning not only technology or coding, but at the same time how to be independent technologists themselves. Without wasting any more time, I'm going to invite the founder, the director at Future Strong Academy, Rachana. And here she is. Welcome, Rachana.
Thank you so much, Varun. Glad to be here.
All right. If you can increase your volume a little bit, there's a little. All right. Now we
How
can
about
hear
now?
you properly.
Thank
Yes.
you.
All right. So, welcome to this podcast. I am really looking forward to hearing your story, your journey, and everything that you've been doing for the last so many years. Very impressive portfolio, very impressive LinkedIn profile, as well as a career span that you've been kind of into the development yourself,
Yeah.
and then you've progressed to be someone who's teaching robotics and coding to kids, students worldwide. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, and then we can take the conversation forward.
Okay, thank you, Varun, for the platform. And you yourself are doing a lot of things to amplify the voices of so many of us. So I really appreciate that. And this tech space that you have created is really good for entrepreneurs to find each other and network and collaborate. Because I keep telling my students, my kids, whenever I teach them that, in this modern age, our network is our net worth. So if we are collaborating, if we are together planning out all our ideas and strategies, we can solve any problem in the world. So I teach. If I have to put it in a simple language, I teach all the courses that kids, all the games that kids are playing right now, I teach them how to create them.
Wow.
Because if we are not um, creators ourselves, we will become consumers. So if we have to understand the inherent problem solving and the creative gene that is in us, it is important that we start when the kids are young. We can teach them, hey, you don't have to be passive consumers of tech. You can create, because if you have seen last year, there was a 12-year-old from Roblox who had created his game uh, that had gone from a few users to a million users in less than a couple of days. So Roblox is a game that an average person who is creating games on Roblox is 12 years old. So you can imagine, and it's a video game that has developers from 16 to 22 years old. So it's just imagine the young demographic. If we can just teach them to create, you know, the possibilities are endless. So that's what I do. And I teach game design, animation, virtual robotics, 3D modeling, design and engineering, and all these virtually in 6 to 8 different platforms. And that's what I do. So our
Great.
mission is we can all be creators if we know how to. Thank you.
Exactly. Great vision, and of course, a great thought process. But I'm sure it has come after a lot of ideation, a lot of thought process. I'm sure you had a flourished career yourself. Choosing or opting out of that career and moving to this side of the spectrum. What made you move from being a doer to somebody who is kind of helping people, achieve more goals?
Okay, thank you. That is usually the question about how did you come upon this idea, and
Correct.
I I actually have like this goal that I want to be able to enable as many people positively for the most amount of time. So I was sitting in my office cubicle and I was wondering, is this enough in that direction? Am I doing enough in that direction? And so I actually started off thinking about writing a book initially because my mom is an author, and then I thought that was probably the line I was going to go into. But it was immediate. It was not an immediate impact that I was seeing. And so then I started thinking about teaching because my mother is also a teacher. So teaching gives me a lot of immediate gratification because I see all these kids, having their aha moments when we are talking to them. So I then started shifting gears. Leaving my job as a big data scientist was not easy because it was something that my boss, my company counted on me, and uh, it was a very big, it was a 2-year ideation strategy before I quit. So it has been, and also coming up with the idea that kids necessarily not only have to learn academia, in the form of robotics or coding or sciences or any other STEM related uh, concepts, but the idea that we will all have to build a holistic child. There has to be an element of creativity, there has to be an element of emotional intelligence, there has to be an element of that looking inward, whether you're always on the right direction or not. There's so many aspects to a child that will complete him or her. So selling that soft skills or non-cognitive skills as they're called was not easy initially. So that is why I had to rope in the robotics and coding aspect of it. And that is how I designed my curriculum, keeping the holistic thing in mind. We have 6 pillars for Future Strong Academy, and we run it holistically. The curriculum is based off of that because, children teach me how to create all these games, believe it or not. 6-year-olds who don't even know how to move a mouse teach me a better version of my own game that I show them.
Great.
So they don't need you or me to help them create that. But putting in context what, conflict management, time management, focus management, that their curiosity matters, that they matter, that, they all have potential and that we believe in them. Sometimes we are so resistant to change in our adult life. But if you observe kids, there's so much, they're always failing fast, failing big, failing fast, failing big. So retaining that inherent quality in them, and it is not failure, but it is experience. you know
Right.
uh, that's
No,
yeah, thank you.
absolutely. I mean, you mentioned, right, 6 year, 7 year old. That also comes with a lot of challenges. I'm sure. Keeping them um, in a check is not easy.
Yes.
Getting their creative juices flow, but at the same time, making productive outcomes out of that is also not easy. So you mentioned your mom being a big influence, like a teacher, also as an author. And but is there some kind of additional thing that has helped you in honing these skills from these young budding entrepreneurs? Or is there a skill set that a person needs to possess if somebody has to coach, guide, mentor kids as young as 6 7 year olds? Because being a father of one, I can vouch for one thing. Making her sit at one place for, let's say, 10 minutes is a task in itself. So tell us a little bit about that as well.
Okay, so there I will like to divide your question into two parts. The first part is where you are saying can this be an inherent quality that you are able to figure out, what, whether it is other people's needs, or how do you thrive yourself and help others thrive, or how do you build an ecosystem where everybody is reliant on each other? And the second question you have asked is, how do you make a 6-year-old sit in class, right?
Right.
So the first thing is, the best part about emotional intelligence is it is a learnable quality. You can just start off by observing people, because I'll tell you something. Let's say right now you uh, and I are selling. You know what we are selling? I am selling the idea through Future Strong Academy that our potential is limitless. Okay, our two words for Future Strong is become unstoppable. You are selling the idea that every voice matters, and that if you choose wherever you are, you can organize your thoughts and amplify them on a platform like this. So every one of us is trying to persuade our fellow human to live to their fullest capacity. So if you are the emotional intelligence, the empathy part, and that is what separates us from robots and animals, right? Our inherent, we can find purpose in what we do. We can think. We can also procrastinate, of course. Machines and animals don't do that, because of course animals, because they have a very very less developed, not as complex brain as us, and machines, because of the AI, they just have whatever we feed into them. Of course, with the deep learning, a lot of things are changing. And so the second aspect is, I always say this to all my parents. If there is a very famous book where logotherapy, Viktor Frankl writes a book about the Holocaust, and he talks about a concept called logotherapy. He says, even in the brutality of the harsh conditions that he was living in, he was a Holocaust survivor. He says, if you find meaning, you can almost somehow endure the how. So I tell my children, I give them context. Hey, you know what is happening right now? If you learn these skills, if you pick up these skills, what can happen is you will be able to help somebody inject the right amount of medicine into themselves if they are suffering from a chronic disease. You're going to create a robot that is so precise, a machine that is so precise that it can take care of that, so that you don't have to worry about it. Somebody must have thought during the industrial age, somebody must have thought that I'm carrying the grocery bags in my hands, but I also don't want to open the door. Right? So somebody must have thought of the idea that the doors are automatically opening up, so that it is just so convenient for us to walk back and forth. So if you are thinking that, hey, you look at a problem, you want to create a solution, you want to contribute. If somehow the child understands that they have this inherent worth in them, and that I am here to believe in you, anything is possible. If the child sees the relevance and the context of what they are learning, the engagement is just spot on. And with robotics, let me tell you, the engagement is almost instantaneous. You know how I know? You just look at the child and they are just awed. They're just like, what is this? I want to figure out all about it. So thank you. That's
Got it, got it. And of course, it's just not about the young kids. It's also about older kids as well. So why don't you talk a little bit about more about this, as how do the seniors, the mid schools, the high school kids kind of take this and make a career out of it? And I'm sure you would have some stories to share, some examples to share. Would love to kind of hear something a little around that as well.
I'll tell you something. What is happening these days is that's a great question. The future of work, as you have seen in the past 2 years, has changed in a way that we can't even believe. If somebody was telling me 2 years ago that almost all of the workforce will be shut off. They won't be able to go to work, and eventually a lot of the percentage of the work will be staying back home to continue working. That is just an implausible, all these rental properties, all these, they couldn't have probably predicted where we are right now. Even with the digital disruption, a lot of things are happening right now. So if a teenager, so again, if a teenager, so if you remember this hole in the wall experiment by Sugata Mitra, he is an Indian, I think he lives in India, and he did this seminal research. It was hole in the wall experiment is extremely popular all around the world. If you have heard of it, it is that thing where he, in the poorest neighborhoods, okay, in his hometown, he puts all these computer terminals for kids, and he just wanted to observe what would happen. Okay, it was this amazing thing. What he finds out is, so his research and his what Sugata is known for is minimally invasive education. So we are over educating our children right now. Okay, so he says he finds out that children across all these learning stations, they just used two things: curiosity and imagination. And it was a process of discovery for them. They learned computer skills, computational thinking on their own. So that is the beauty. So a child comes with everything that they need. We cannot take away that curiosity and that imagination that they have. Let them just thrive on it, right? So that is the whole, so minimally invasive education, that is the whole premise of that. So if they are interested in bioengineering, if they are interested in industrial engineering, how do you excuse me once, so how do you make it technically in a way that you can also use your computational thinking skills, as well as you can also do your work that you are mostly passionate about. So if we can just keep telling our children that that is the way to go, they will, you just have to watch for wonders to happen.
Got it. And like I said initially as well, it definitely comes with a lot of challenges. Now, from a future perspective, right? I mean, for uh, not only little kids, older kids, school going kids, and people outside of that, why do you, I mean, why do I have to just limit it to kids or students like who are school going? There could be people who are not going to school, but would still be interested in technology, in learning robotics, in learning coding. Of course, they need some kind of initial basic knowledge, but at the same time, like you mentioned, right? I mean, it comes automagically sometimes to certain people, and they develop certain things. So from that perspective, what are some of those challenges that you see in this, uh, from a future perspective around this what do you want to call it? I don't know. I mean, the
It,
tech world, or the
it is
uh,
education technology, the one, so our
tech.
company falls under, yes, edtech. So
Yes.
okay, so that's a great question. So let me tell you. So what I'll tell you what people are doing these days. In my neighborhood, there are kids, there are young adults. Uh, there is a very big deer fatality issue. There's a very big deer fatality issue on the streets where, even though our speed limit is not so high, 35 to 40 miles per hour, when deers are hit head on, uh, sometimes the deers die. So it has become a very big problem. So what happens is, there were two kids who collaborated with Doppler effect, with using their machines. They were using a lot of things to send a signal to the driver ahead of, a deer is approaching. It has left the backyard of somebody's house and is approaching the highway. There are all these signals that they have created that can help out. So there are a lot of innovations that are happening around us, from which Adults like us can take inspiration because children are just solving the problems that they are seeing around them. So the first thing I request people who are interested, and there is a famous quote, I think, is it, I don't want to misquote, but the minute you think that you know everything, learning stops, right? So the first thing is the mindset that I can learn and I can figure out the solution to a problem. The next thing is understanding how our future is evolving. Every single day we are making exponential leaps in the area of AI. And humans versus AI, as of today, right now, we still have an edge. Because of our complex brains, we are still giving a tough competition to the machine. You know, if I put a picture in front of a machine of a cat, of my real life, my cat, Griffin, or the picture of a cake design of the same guy, Griffin's, like a knife, the machine will not be able to figure out which one is a real cat. It is a cat, cat. But a baby, even an 18-month-old who just started talking, can say cat, right? So that is where we still have the edge, the sense of perception. We still have that, the thing that identifies us, separates us from the machine. This can go a little longer. If you like 2 more minutes, I just want to
Sure.
elaborate on this. Okay.
Absolutely. Right.
Okay, so how we have evolved with this whole AI thing is, if you notice, we were doing some very mundane tasks. When AI came along, we were starting to do voice translations. Google Translate was a big thing. Automatic speech recognition came along. I was using a lot of apps that would convert my writings into audio so that I can just play around to see whether they were ready, that they were a good draft to just post. Those were the kind of advanced level tasks that I was doing just a few months ago or years ago. Now, I have friends. I don't have all these Alexas and all these, even though my phone is, I'm sure, watching me, but I don't have Alexas around in my house. But a lot of my friends have Alexas, their own personal assistant. They have this Internet of Thing refrigerator, which you just have to yell at it that add milk to my task list and it is done. All these advances have come in. Okay,
Right.
you just follow rules. You have a fixed set of rules and then you follow. Okay, again, we have a superiority over here where we can plan, we can figure out a purpose for the task. As humans, we have an edge over them. But now AI has this branches, machine learning and deep learning. What has happened is, of course, both of them are about large amounts of data and using mathematical models to help you inform with better decision making. you know Even before you can blink, your Netflix is telling you what you should be watching, right? So how is that happening? So that is machine learning. And now what has happened is the automation, driverless cars, because of which they are saying that the distracted driving and the drunk driving and all these things can lead to less fatality will go down. Okay, they're saying that we are already seeing all those things. you know
Mhm.
the customer service reps who needs customer service reps in the future, if a machine is able to pick out of 2000 frequently answered questions and throw it back at you. You're already chatting with a chat bot. I was just teaching my kids, my Python students, how to create a chat bot just half an hour ago. So trying to understand how all these things work. And now what is happening is deep learning has come into place. Machines are doing deep learning themselves. So what it means is the human is becoming even more redundant. What is happening is the it is trying to mimic the neural network of the brain, where data is synthesized over and over again, and it is pulling out the best representation. So Earlier, what would happen is, I'll just give you a quick example. If it is machine learning versus deep learning, let's say machine learning, you're going to try to find out uh, if a pit bull is going to attack you, a fierce dog is going to attack you. Earlier, if I was the developer, I would put in all the features of how a threat looks like, aggressive, all kinds of things. And then I will also put in, based on my biases towards the fierce dog, the pit bull, I would also put in all the features of the pit bull. Right now, in deep learning, I avoid putting all the features of the pit bull, and I just simply upload thousands and thousands of pictures which are dog, not dog. So dog, not dog, and the machine makes a decision how a pit bull looks like. So you're not adding your inherent biases to it, right? So
Right.
that is why deep learning is going forward and forward. So if you understand how our world is evolving, if you are, so we can talk about the next step. If humans are becoming redundant, so where is my place in the tech world? Okay, so basically that is how you have to understand. Is it design or engineering? Is it decision? Is it aiding in writing that? How does a threat look like? But if you want to understand how a threat looks like, you have to look up from your phone and see people who are angry, right? If you don't have that emotional intelligence to understand how an angry person looks, how would you even code for it, right? So
Right.
there's so
Right.
many things. It's like a, yes. So that's
Now
sorry,
that's
long answer. Yeah.
no, that's a great answer, and that's a great perspective as well. For people who want to kind of get the real sense of how things work, how we have to get into the one of the things that one of the questions that came in yesterday about this particular topic was very very basic, and I think you giving these long answers are actually definitely helping those questions. But let me just put that very basic question to supplement to what you just mentioned. In layman's term, right? People get scared. Coding means you have to learn some kind of language. You have to have an expertise or some kind of background in technology and whatnot. For that layman, or for that individual who wants to get into this, who really wants the first step, towards being a I don't know, a game designer or any app designer, what are those prerequisites, and how would you encourage someone with no technical background to kind of take that first step?
Okay, so great. Thank you for asking that. So, first thing is, obviously, are you self motivated to? Because one of the careers, kids are always like, these days, if you ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? The first answer, the most popular answer is a YouTuber. Okay, the second most appeal is a game designer. So, how will you, if you want to be a trainer, or if you want to be a game designer yourself, or if you want to be in any kind of capacity in the technology world, first thing is, are you motivated enough? Okay, because what happens is, again, if you are not strong enough in your convictions, in your, the final destination, if you're not sure where you want to be or what you want to do, the smallest setback you will get, you're just going to give up, right? So having that conviction, okay, we'll talk about what are the core values that a person needs and all that if we get to that eventually. But having that conviction, that strength of courage, the character, and the clarity, most important, the first thing, the first pillars of future strong is clarity. Do you even know what you want? Okay, so first thing is that, as far as technical knowledge is concerned, anybody, so look at this layman terms, right? You're thinking for yourself. You're thinking in your mother tongue. I'm thinking in my mother tongue. I sometimes think in English when I have to respond in English. uh, we are using all these different languages to communicate with ourselves and others. You are simply teaching a machine, something that doesn't have its own brain, how to think. And how do you do that? You are teaching it in the language that it understands. It is coding. The language that a machine understands is coding. You're just putting that artificial intelligence in its brain. It doesn't have its own brain, so you have to feed it everything, and then voila, it's going to work. So the coding is, if we get into the technicalities of it, you know, writing, figuring out the syntax, figuring out how, the indentation, or figuring out how to lay out your program line by line, how the machine executes it, is just semantics. There's not, it's not a big deal. If you understand the concept, if you're ready to go for it, if you want to do it, if you're ready to make your machine think, everything else is a piece of cake. It is a learnable quality. You can do it. You have put yourself through 20 years of school. If not anything, you can do it. So, hey, I have done it. And, I've done it for 20 years. Anybody can do it.
Perfect, perfect. I think that should definitely answer. And from one of the things that people always say, that how can we be sure that this is the right field for us, or this is the right language for us, or how can you say that this technology is gonna last for that's a multi-million dollar question, but how will this technology last my lifetime, or I don't have to kind of re kind of purpose my whole learning and all that stuff. So what would you like to tell people who are just venturing out and planning to get into this?
Okay. So here, what you have to think is a skill set that you are acquiring. Is it scalable or not? Can it be cross functional? By that, I mean, if you see in the ERP world, what is the full form again? It's enterprise relation
Resource planning.
resource planning. Yes, thank you. So ERP world, a company has all these functions: sales, marketing, HR, and all these different modules. But a, a person who is technical, strong technical background inside the sales philo, he just needs, okay, so he's, if they're using the same exact application across the board, okay, of course, every sales has their own different applications. They're generating reports and everything, so there are, like, let's say 5 or 6 different applications. So if this is an application, sometimes companies also use proprietary software, their own software. Sometimes they use out of the box software that they acquire from a third party vendor. So all these things, no matter what the application is, make sure that your skill set is scalable and it is cross functional. Okay, you are going to look into the same data. You're going to try to figure out the same permutations and combinations and algorithms and everything. But think, the way you think about the data, the way you analyze your data, everything, it's pretty much the same. The idea behind it is going to be the same. So think about cross functionality skills, okay, that can last longer. As you age, people tend to go from technical to functional roles, because for the same reason, because now they have enough experience in one domain, 2 domains, or 3 domains, so they are able to see the end to end of any kind of a life cycle, and then they can go forward with it. So scalability, cross functionality, this is what I would look at. And of course, with any technical application, you can only do so much. I mean, I would say I have worked with 5 or 6 different applications, but every time it was something which was very hot. So, but how long does it take you to pick it up? If you actually know the real basics of how things work and how machine learning works, it's, again, pretty easy. I mean, you just have to have the will.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So, a little bit about your own journey now. I'm sure it has not been easy. It comes with its own set of challenges, so a set of issues. Not only from designing the entire syllabi or the curriculum of the education, but also from the logistic. As an entrepreneur, you have to not only look at what is your value proposition, but also around the other aspects which people don't generally see. Now, if somebody has to be the next Rachana, what would be some of those learnings, some things that you can share with everybody, that these are my learnings, these are my points where I failed, and I really could have done something better. If you could share some of those aspects from your entire journey, that'll be great.
Okay. So, thank you. So, this is what I teach my two boys at home. This is, even if I cannot give them anything in life, I always tell them this is the only lesson I want them to take away. Okay. So, reducing the reaction time. Okay. So, what that means is, oh, somebody said something to me 10 years ago and it still hurts. Okay. So when you say that out loud, also, it doesn't really sound great. So why are you holding on to something that is burdening you? So reducing the reaction time of something that has happened. So by that I mean, of course, obviously something that bad that has happened. So literally this week, February 28th was my second year anniversary of the business that I had started on the ground. And I ran it pre-COVID for 1 week. Okay, before March 13th, everything shut off. So I threw a pizza party. I was like, guys, this is it. I am the next, whatever Silicon Valley is calling, all that. And then what happens is 1 week, 10 days, everything shuts down. And, it's just, okay, that story I can tell you for 2 hours. But the point is, initially I started observing. So Gen Z, okay, Gen Z is the people, the children who are born after 1995. What they do is they have a cause that is close to their heart. Ask any Gen Z, they are not just the narcissistic people that we see around. They have a cause. Their climate change, animal abuse, bureaucracy, civil rights, amplifying their voice anywhere they want. Okay. So speaking about their choices and also talking about it openly. So I thought about it like my cause when I opened this operations on ground, saying that, okay, maximum amount of people, maximum amount of positive change, right? So that was the whole goal. But my passion also, as an entrepreneur, this is the biggest thing that I took away. If my passion is not sustainable in a way that I'm also making a profit, I will get so desperate that I will give up. So, money gives you options. Okay. Take the money, amplify your good work. So, who my best friend, she lives in India. She said one thing that changed my life. She said, if you were finding a cancer, if you found out a cancer drug that can save millions of lives, would you shut up and be quiet about it? So the second thing is market yourself. It's okay to market yourself. You're not showing off. You are just telling people what you're offering. You are just showing what your services and products are. Who knows who it can help? Who knows whose day you can make, whose career you can make? They're teenagers. There is a child who is creating a tennis ball and a tennis racket that kids, blind people can play. There are kids who are in the medical universities in downtown. They are Emory or Georgia Tech, anywhere, UGA, all these kids, they intern with me sometimes in summer for summer camps. They are actually right now creating robotic arms that can deliver precise amount of medicine. They're creating some life-saving uh, equipment. Is not just not just in medicine. The areas in which they are thinking about how to problem solve, it's just so amazing. You can't help but be motivated. So the thing that I want to say is, here we are the future. If you observe as an entrepreneur, you have to be keenly attuned to how the future is. How it is evolving is, we are making automatic choices. Okay. Everything is being based on our past behavior, Amazon will tell you what you should be buying next, what you should be seeing next on Netflix. They're guiding. Of course, big tech has its own agenda. It doesn't have its own policies. It is self-regulating. I mean, we can go into ethics if you have some time, but it is self-regulating itself. So it is up to us to understand that we are the ones who are in charge of technology, not the other way around. So
Right.
automatic choices are being made. Okay, our interactions with one another are becoming a little too superficial in the name of personalization. A lot of our privacy and our security and safety data is being just funneled into the systems of deep learning that are going to curate and figure out. A machine might know better things about me than myself. Can you imagine what can happen if you leave the machines to do major life changing decisions for you? The second thing that is happening is civic superpowers. We have these amazing, I cannot tell you from the past 2 years what I have been observing on the mainstream, the conversations that we have been having, the kind of, sorry, one second. Okay. So the kind of conversations that we are having, how companies like us have to change ourselves. We have to see what people are talking about. How are people, it has become a very, very participatory world. Everybody wants to have a voice. Everybody wants to have a say in a product that they have bought. $2 products on Amazon have 2-page reviews. I'm
Yeah.
just amazed at the kind of civic responsibility people are taking. They're questioning the governance gap. They're like, hey, this is not what my elected official should be doing. They're questioning uh, the social norms and the cultural fabric and everything. Hey, this is how we were dressing at some point of time, but gender fluidity is coming in. There is a great tolerance for people to live the way they want, as long as it is not disturbing the peace and security of the other person next to them. you know we are engaging in
Mhm.
more and more. The third thing that is happening is we are observing the trends, and we are allowing technology to just transform. We are deeply in the nexus of that digital disruption. We are putting, as humans, we are putting ourselves right in the middle of it. so
True.
so as an entrepreneur, it is extremely important for you to understand what is happening. You have to be keenly attuned to your present and where you want to be in the future. So sorry, I mean,
True.
this is a little it's just a little passionate for me, so I'm just like going on and on.
It is showing up, and and that's why we do this, and that's the reason for starting this separate podcast, so that people who are passionate about their own domain, their field, can speak openly, freely, and inspire many more entrepreneurs. And who knows, next entrepreneur could mention, next Satya Nadella, or Bill Gates could come out of one of these conversations and mention about one of our podcasts, that what, Rachna came that day and she was the one who inspired me. Now that takes me to the other aspect of Rachna. I did go through your website as well, and I would definitely love all of the information to be shared. But before that, one thing that definitely strikes, and it's a very good thing to have, your dream, your aspiration to get the Nobel Prize. Can you talk a little bit about that, and what's the agenda behind that? And who knows? Of course, you will get it. I have a firm belief you will get the Nobel Prize. But why should we have such kind of goals set, and do they help?
Oof, okay, you hit a nerve. Okay, so thank you. So first of all, yes, I am working backwards from my goal of 2044 Nobel Prize. Okay, so okay, let's put aside the semantics of the Nobel Prize aside. There's a lot of corruption, bureaucracy. Is it really legitimate? Why the Nobel? There's so many other. So forget all that. In the spirit of achieving the highest honor for humanity. Let's just put it that way, whatever the honor might be.
Sure.
Okay. So the Nobel for 2044 was something that I had conceived 6 years ago. I also wrote an essay, The Acceptance Speech, which is on my website. People are like, well, you're crazy, so are we, so it's okay. That's the kind of understanding. But the point is, I realized very, very late in the game, uh, uh, according to conventions, very late in the game at 35, 36, that there is more to me than what I'm doing right now. I have a whole lot of potential because I was not listening to people saying that your writing is making an impact on me. I was like, that is all good work. Yeah, great, thank you. But I never took anybody seriously because, they say, oh, if you're humble and you think you're already humble, you have lost that humility. So I was like always trying to be like this humble person, but not trying to. But the point is, all this humility costed me about my prime 20s and my 30s figuring out if corporate was really my thing. Is this really, imagine me sitting behind a machine for the rest of my life. I'm So that aha moment came when I was thinking there is something more to this, right? What can I do? So then I started seeing children who are just doing whatever is there in their capacity for themselves, for others, trying to make an impact, belonging, and all these beautiful aspects about a child that we lose as we age. So, in a sense, I have tried to transform myself into a child, curiosity, imagination. Nothing is impossible kind of an attitude, of course, within reasonable limits. Okay. I mean, a group of girls from Atlanta right now, moms from Atlanta are climbing the Kilimanjaro right now. I mean, hopefully in 10 years I'll get there. But the point is, uh, within, if you give reason, there's so many of them. You have so many excuses that will keep coming up. Right. So the thing is, what are the three key things? Clarity of vision, certainty of action, and the conviction that you hold in your heart, that you believe that it will all fall into place if you do all the right things. So just to exemplify that idea, I keep telling anybody and everybody that that is my goal, so that if a person from a rural town in India can aspire for it and can literally do whatever she thinks is in the benefit of the community and try her best, uh, you know it's just anything is possible.
Great, great. And just to add a little bit on that, when you mention about the age, little late in the life, I hope you and all of the listeners have heard the story of Colonel Sanders, the person who started KFC. He was 60 when he had, the bulb lit for him, and he started 65 when he started KFC. And yes, he did live a good life, I would say, after that, and he died a millionaire or a multimillionaire. But more than the money, there is no age, there is no factor of like a number that by a certain age an idea should strike, and you should be successful. And success means different to different people. Success could be money, success could be, the creative success, could be that kind of satisfaction that you get by developing something which might not make you a millionaire. Just to add to that, I recently was looking at or watching a clip of this Shark Tank, the India Shark Tank that's happening, where a poor fellow from a village, has come up with a very basic idea of how to put fertilizer without lifting it on his back or his father's back, who used to do it. And that idea definitely, struck a chord with the investors. They've invested, they've even given him some tax free money as well. So, the point that I wanted to add to what Rachna was also alluding to was, even though people feel that it's too late and they start kind of giving up on certain aspirations, that what, let my kid or my somebody else do it, and I'm too old or I'm getting in that zone. I think that there is no such thing as that, and whenever you think is the right time, that is the right time. Simple as that. And here you go. There's a question, and I will love to do that. And I was actually about to ask you for those details as well. But Anand, who happens to be one of my very early, guests when I used to do this radio show, and he has graced the studio with the CEO as well.
Excellent.
He's based out in India. He's asking, wonderful session. Curious to know if you work coach across different geographies.
So thank you, sir. I actually coach. I have my own executive coaching services as well, and my only international client, if you will, is in Africa right now, South Africa right now. So I would love to, connect with you, and whatever you're thinking, just let's talk. And
Yep, happy to connect
geography,
you.
no barrier. Thank you. Thank you.
Right,
And
happy
everybody
to.
who is commenting, thank you. We are on the YouTube platform here, and everybody who's commenting, really appreciate that. I'm going to go and read everything good, bad, and the ugly. So please be candid. Everybody has to grow, so criticism is critical. So thank you.
Right. And just to add, guys, even though this podcast will be available on YouTube, but will also be on the podcast applications. So you can definitely hear us on multiple apps, and I will be posting it on the newsletter. So if you've not registered to the newsletter or subscribed to the newsletter, you can. You just have to look for Thumbtack at Varun Kapoor, and you'll be able to find me. All right. As we come to the very end of the session, like I said, Rachna, would love you to share some details around if people have to contact you, your website, your contact details, and what additional services or offerings do you have?
Okay, so just want to say that wherever you can search for my name or our future strong. So our future strong right here on the screen. I think you can see it on any social media. You can find me at our future strong. And the idea is, I have two words for you: become unstoppable. And if you can realize the inherent potential in you, we can all rise to the level that we cannot even imagine in our dreams. So um, just want to thank Varun for this opportunity. Just want to also conclude, there are three very important aspects of technology if you are planning to get into this space. Thank you, Varun. So if you're planning to get into this space of technology, I would like you to consider, if this is not going to be your primary source of income, as well as if it is going to be your primary source of income if you are an adult, or if you're a parent looking for courses, whatever it is. If you are teaching or learning technology, the aspects that I want you to think about is how our world is evolving is, I would put it in three different areas. It is, empathy that we talked about all along, that we are the only ones as humans who can find a purpose in what we are doing, figure out a purpose, and then start acting. And we are the ones who can connect the dots, and we are the ones who know the ethical implications of what we are doing. So the first thing is empathy. So please, in our world where we are desire driven so much that at a click of a button, you can literally get the world at your feet. I want you to think before you act, especially if you are in the tech space. So empathy is critical. And the second thing that I request you is, I've seen some of the richest of kids on the planet and the poorest of kids on the planet in my journey as a teacher. I cannot tell you, a child in Honduras, the parents don't know English. I don't know what to say. They don't know what to say. The child knows broken English. They have a phone, a mobile phone for 8 of the people in the house. He codes Python on that phone. Okay.
Wow.
So imagine the kind of, so the equity of resources, there is a problem of availability of resources uniformly and across all demographics and all places. So uh, so please, if you you know what I keep doing, I keep hunting around for anybody who is throwing away laptops, or we are sitting, if you know this techno materialism, we are sitting on $40 billion worth of unused technology in our homes in the US. So around the world, you can imagine what that number can be. So please, if you can donate your old phone or your laptop to somebody, remember the Sugata Mitra's that seminal research where you just put it in front, they will figure out how to use it. So equity of education, so empathy, equity, and the last final thing is ethics. So please uh, understand why you are doing what you are doing. You literally have the power of creating in your hands. But if I don't watch a whole lot of movies, but if you know the movie which is the not Transformers, Transformers, where there are bad guys, good guys, and all kinds of things. So the thing that you're going to create, is it going to be used for the greater good? Okay, because right now UN has a moratorium. It has United Nations has a moratorium, and OECD, which is the Organization for Cooperative Economic Cooperation and Development, they also have some stipulations on how we have to build a sustainable AI as a sustainable resource for the greater good of the planet. So there's a lot of cyber warfare, there's a lot of cyber threats, a lot of drones illegally flying around homes. Some of our neighbors are going through those issues. So please make sure that you are leveraging, thanks to technology. I always make for a case for technology, but I also, because of technology, I'm able to talk to you. Yes, but there are going to be implications if we don't, use it to the right cause. So thank you. Those are the three
Great,
things.
great. And I think that also brings us to the very end of this podcast,
Thank you.
guys. It has been a very inspiring one for me, and I'll be very honest. Certain ideas while I was hearing Rachana have also struck my mind now, and I think we should all get these kind of ideas as well from such conversations, that and then evolve them and then talk to more people. Another thing which I feel, one of the visions that I have through this podcast is, uh, like one of the earlier visions is already getting fulfilled, that somebody is trying to connect with Rachna now. And it's really humbling to see that with technology we are able to connect people sitting poles apart and still leverage the best of technology. So thanks, Anand, for the message, and more than happy to connect, like I said. And not only Anand, anybody else who wants to be connected. We've had great conversation with Biren Gandhi, an IoT expert. We've had a wonderful session last time with Sri Ramaswamy in the fintech as well as insurance industry, and now robotics and machine learning, and of course life coaching. So and more of such sessions will be done in the near future. So feel free to connect with all of us. All our details will be available either on the newsletter or on the social media platforms, as you can already see on the screen as well for people who are watching on YouTube. But on podcast, it will all be available as content. So please feel free to connect. And before I end this, first of all, thank you so much, Rachna, for taking out time.
Thank you.
And before we end this stream, one last message or statement from your side.
Okay, so again, just for kids, everybody believes in your potential, no matter how you enter the classroom or your life with a barrier for learning. You might have had a tough day at home, you might have had a breakdown of sorts, but at the classroom or where you are learning, the only thing that matters is you and how you're leveraging your potential. So thank you so much. And robots are still indifferent to human suffering. So we still have an edge. Let's go rock the world. Thank you, Varun.
And in Rachna's words or terms, let's all become unstoppable. Thank
Let's
you,
go.
everyone. Take care. God bless. And I'll see you on the next podcast. Bye for now.